Retro Rivals tagged me in a top 10 list, more specifically Jen. Jen, you want to know what my top 10 list is? Okay. I mean, you could have at least taken me to dinner first. Such a personal question. So I'm gonna do this Scott's way, where I go from 10 to 1. So my first one is a racing game. Need for Speed Most Wanted. This, to me, is the pinnacle of racing gaming. I have replayed this numerous times. I don't know if it's the car customization or the different races or the story. I mean, I would say the story isn't like a 10 out of 10, but it sure is more interesting than most racing games I play today. Number 9 on my list is also a racing game. It's also the last one. Mario Kart Double Dash. This is my favorite Mario racing game. I love that you have the 2 players, that you can rotate and get more than 1 items. If you have a matching team, you get specialty items. The baby park track, which I think a lot of people find repetitive, is actually the most fun for me because it's like super chaotic. It's such a tight space, so many laps and so many opportunities to screw each other over. Number 8 on my list is something that took me by surprise, and I ended up playing it in like 2 sittings, which is really unusual for me because I have a short attention span. Shantae HalfGenie Hero. I had never played this series until this point. And so, as many of you know, there's the very, very expensive Game Boy Color game. There's other variants of it that I need to really get into. But when I found this game, I didn't know what I was walking into. I love platformers. It's very interesting because you can switch between different shapes to be different animals, and you have to go back to levels, which I normally hate, but every time you unlock a new animal like transformation, you can go back to the level and discover new parts of it that you weren't able to access before. I almost forgot to tell you the most important part. This game has an amazing song at the beginning of the game, and you need to go check it out immediately. All right. So number 7 is another PlayStation 4 game that also took me by surprise, and it was the first time I ever played the series. Yakuza 0. The funny thing is I got this box when I was just buying the regular game, and the guy behind the counter at GameStop's like, hey, I've got the big box edition if you want to just throw the game in. And so I ended up getting the special edition, not knowing that I was going to fall in love with this series. There are a crazy amount of mini games. It's a beat 'em up. You have a skill tree that you can update. The story is long, and you do have to read captioning, which I also normally don't like, but you can't beat the comedy and the wittiness of this game. I mean, it is amazing. Yeah, it does take a while to get through, but holy cow, if you guys have not played any of the Yakuza games, you need to get on board with that like right now. If it's not painfully obvious by now, I'm a big Nintendo fan, so I have to have some Mario titles on here. And so for number 6, I've got Mario 3. And I have it for the Game Boy Advance, the NES, the Famicom. I probably have it digitally downloaded in other places. I don't know if I really need to explain to you guys why this is on my list. This is the pinnacle of Mario gaming. I can play this game over and over again and not get bored. The power-ups, the level design, the music. I mean, this game is something that every gamer should play through at least once in their life, regardless of how old you are. This game is very special to me, not only because it was kind of the first of its kind that I had played through, but also I was playing it at a time when I met my now husband. And so I bought an Xbox 360 from a friend my senior year of high school, so I was late to the party. And one of the games in there was Fable II. This game is amazing to me, not only because of when I was playing it. He was playing it in front of me actually, which I'm usually not a backseat gamer. And when he was playing it, he was playing as a good character. And it drove me nuts. I have never experienced a game up until this point where you got to choose to be evil. And so the moment I got my hands on my controller, I did every evil thing that you could. You can steal, you can kill people. The thing in the game though is that if you choose to go good or evil, it actually changes your appearance. And so you can upgrade your weapons, you can work jobs to earn money, you can buy houses, you can get married, you can have babies. I mean, this game is so fun, and the dialogue in it is pretty interesting. The story kept me captivated through the whole thing. You get a dog, which is like the best part. He helps you find things that are just hidden throughout the game. In my first playthrough, I went through what's called the Crucible, and the only food I had on me was pie, which in this game you can be fat and skinny depending on what you're eating. So by the time I left the Crucible, I had horns, I was super fat, and I was bald, because they shave you. But anyone who hasn't played this game really should give it a shot. It's so much fun and there's so much to explore. So you just heard that I expressed that I'm a big Nintendo fan. However, Nintendo does have one of their franchises that didn't quite captivate me like it did other people. But there was one game that when it came out, I was addicted. I mean, it is an amazing game. So my number 4, Zelda Breath of the Wild. When I got my Nintendo Switch, I waited on the Walmart floor for 3 hours for my chance to buy my Switch and Zelda Breath of the Wild. Hopefully most of you have tried this game by this point. Jen, you especially, like if you haven't played this, you need to play it like right now. It's an open world game where the environment is constantly changing. You know, the weather plays a big role in where you can and cannot explore. If it's raining, you can't climb rocks. You can find different weapons. You can kill enemies in a variety of ways. You can be stealthy, you can use your environment, or you can just blow on in like I usually did and get your butt kicked. This game has an awesome story. It encourages you to explore. The main story almost seems like a side piece to this game because there's so much to explore, so many shrines. I mean, I don't know what else I can possibly say about this game other than you have to play it if you haven't already. But I stayed up numerous times when I got this game till like 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning when I knew I had to work the next day because I was addicted. And my PC Master Race scumbag husband even said that it was a $60 game, and he's usually pretty critical of Nintendo games. So, number 3 on my list is Donkey Kong Country 2. This was on Jen's list as well, and as far as I'm concerned, it should be on everybody's list. This is the best Donkey Kong Country game, and honestly, it's probably, in my opinion, the best Donkey Kong game, period. If you have never played this, I don't even care, click off, go play this. You need to have this in your collection. This game is challenging, the music is amazing, the level design is like unreal. The roller coaster levels are like my favorite part of the game. Seriously, this is like the pinnacle of like Super Nintendo gaming. I had such a blast with this. I didn't even grow up with it, and I think it's better than Donkey Kong Country, which is a game that I have deep nostalgia for. So that's why this is my number 3. I think this game will probably be a part of my top 10 list for the rest of my life. Okay, so this is where, we're getting into the top 2. This is where nostalgia just like runs deep to its core. Because at this point, it's about my personal experiences as a gamer. And so for number 2, Pokemon Red for the original Game Boy. I'm a big Pokemon fan, and I think that comes across pretty clearly. I grew up in the 90s, I was the perfect age when Pokemon Mania hit. I was 9 years old. I was watching the cartoon, I was buying my mom was buying the VHS tapes, and for my golden birthday, I got a Game Boy Kiwi Green and Pokemon Yellow, actually. I enjoy Pokemon Red more than I enjoyed Yellow. I liked that you had the choice between the 3 starters, which I love Pikachu, don't get me wrong. Pokemon Yellow is super fun, and I'm very grateful that that's what I grew up with. But when it comes to the game itself, I like that you can exploit glitches. I got to figure out how to get Missing No. I, could figure out how to get Mew. I just enjoyed Pokemon Red more, and every time I go back to it, I don't get bored. I could play this game for the rest of my life and love it forever. Now, don't get me wrong, I like the other Pokemon games, Pokemon Ruby, Fire Red. I'm not so much a big fan of the newer ones. In my last video, I talked about Pokemon Diamond. I'm kind of already getting bored. But with the original games, they hold a special place in my heart, so it's gotta be my number 2. So, coming to the conclusion of my number 1, was actually really difficult. I had to write a list down on paper and then like constantly change it, trying to figure out what should be on the list, what isn't. I think I restarted it like 3 times. But for my last pick, the nostalgia runs very deep. And so just understand that this pick, although it, might not be the best video game on the planet, I definitely think it's up there in the all-time greats. And so for my pick for number 1, Super Mario World. I played the crap out of this game and I continue to play it at least like twice a year. It's the first time you meet Yoshi. The level design is amazing. I don't think I've ever gotten bored starting it and finishing it. You know, you got a bunch of secrets you can find. You can basically 100% the game, which is a lot of fun. This had a lot of variety in it that I think a lot of Mario games today don't do as well. And so, not only for obvious nostalgia purposes, but I think just the game itself, it still holds up. It's a fun game. I find it hard to believe that anybody watching this right now has not played this. Obviously, if you have not, you need to go play it, obviously. So that's my number 1. I grew up with this, you know, in kindergarten. The Super Nintendo was really the first system that really helped me become the gamer I am today. And Super Mario World was a big part of that. It's a very important game, not only historically, but for me personally. Okay, so it's time for me to tag 5 people. So, Gaming Off the Grid, you've been a big supporter of my channel, and I'm so sorry I'm doing this to you guys. Wes and Robert, I want to see your top 10 list. So, you're my number 1. Next one is Retro Gaming Pandemic. Their channel has been growing kind of alongside mine, which is really cool to see. Their editing skills are just outrageous, and you should check them out if you haven't already. Retro Wolf 88, if you're watching me, you probably already know who he is. I'd be curious to see what his top 10 list is and how many GameCube games are in that list. Endless One Up, a supporter of the channel who's been awesome and has his YouTube channel as well, and I'd like to see what your top 10 is. And the last person I'd like to tag is Zap Crystal, a fellow female YouTuber, and I'd like to see what your top 10 list is as well. Your top 10 is kind of ever-changing as you experience new games. And so to put a little twist on this video, I'd like to tell you 5 games that I have not played yet that I think have a shot at getting onto my top 10. And so the first one is Witcher 3. I haven't played that yet, but I do own it. Skies of Arcadia, Metroid Dread, Earthbound, and Persona 5. So after I play those games, I'm interested to see if my list does change, and maybe I'll do an update video after I actually play these games. I'm curious if any of you want to tell me your top 10 list in the comments down below. I'm curious to see the people who I tagged, if they're able to make a video, what they end up saying. I appreciate the challenge. Thanks, Retro Rivals, I think. But thank you so much for watching. So, Donkey Kong Country 3 is a shitty game.